Hi everyone, welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session on how to stand out in job interviews. My name is Benedict. I'm a trainer for Google's free skills training program, Google Digital Garage. Just a bit about myself, I'm an experienced coding specialist and digital skills trainer, as well as having a background in the digital creative industry and worked in this sector for over 20 years. I would also like to introduce our amazing moderator, Sarah. Sarah will be answering all the different questions and everything you have there. You have a chat box there on the side. Do fire away with your different questions, and she'll kindly pass them across to me. You can recognize her by her name there, Sarah, as well as a little blue spanner next to her name. If you have any problems during the talk and you can't see the screen or anything, just try refreshing your page. And also, if there's, so that's the main thing I was going to mention. So if there's any problems with that, you can do that. And don't forget, there's a lot of different webinars you can sign up for. This is just one of many. So do check that out. There's information down on the screen for that information to help you. Okay, so let us now get started on this particular talk on standout in job interviews. We've just got a quarter of an hour, so it's quite fast and speedy, but let's go. All right. Today, we will help you to particularly, but we hope by the end of this course, you should understand what recruiters are really looking for in interviews and how to impress them with a few top tips. All right. So our first section, understanding what recruiters look out for in interviews. Okay, very, very important. So let's dive in. Now, the first thing, if you have a look at these figures, I mean, I know they're just sort of silhouettes there, just to give you an idea, sort of rough idea. So look at these three figures. How would you describe their emotional feelings? So for example, with the first one, how do you think number one feels? If you communicate with us, that would be fabulous. If you can also tell us where you're signing on from, welcome to Mohammed. Anyone else, please just do fire away with your question. Introduce yourselves, where you're signing on from. I can welcome you all. Excuse me. So how do you feel about number one? What do you feel are the emotions, and what do you feel the feelings at that point? I myself, I would have said maybe a bit worried or concerned. That's what it seems to communicate to me, that particular body posture. And of course, the body posture is so important. People pick up on these things very clearly. So whether you're actually interviewing online or in person, body language always matters. So pay special attention during virtual interviews, as camera angles, lightings can further affect how you might come across. Okay. Now, your body language is one of the first impressions you make. So try to sit up straight, like I should be now, make eye contact, which I'm trying to do at the moment, and use appropriate gestures. Very, very important. I mean, if you look at the second figure there, I would have said that's quite energetic, enthusiastic, communicating quite positively there. And then if you have a look at number three, the first thing you'll notice is folded arms. Now, a lot of us just fold arms because we're cold or whatever, but it can seem like you are guarding, you are protecting us. You're not you're cutting your communication as we're off. You're just observing. So, of course, it's very important that you do use your hands whilst you're talking, whilst you're communicating, getting the different things across. So body language is very, very important. So that's the first thing we're covering here. And there's passion and enthusiasm, particularly. Now, of course, the job market can be, of course, we know, super competitive. And often candidates are quite similar in terms of skills and knowledge. Often the defining factor comes down in, how enthusiastic or passionate you are about your work. How do you portray previous job roles, successes or failures? Try and be positive and share your goals and ambitions, what you learned possibly, even if it went wrong, what did you learn, or were you able to put into action the different things? This becomes especially important in the later stages of interviews, as often candidates begin, to feel tired or become more nervous, which can read badly. So try to maintain your enthusiasm levels throughout the interview process, but, while always remaining very, very sincere. Okay. But yes, I have interviewed I have interviewed as well, and it's quite interesting because, of course, there's a CV and everything, there's information, but more than anything, when I've got the person there in front of me, there's so much I can pick up intuitively a lot, and with questions and so forth. And one of them, of course, involves the body language. Okay, let's have a look at this now. So interviewers actually will also be on the lookout for proof of knowledge and experience. Okay, now the interview is a great chance to actually showcase your knowledge around the job or the role. You can do this in many different ways. You could use metrics to show successes. Okay, because of course you can say you were successful, but of course unless you can kind of show it with something that people can gauge, that'll help a lot. So say you're applying to be a manager at a new restaurant. So I trained our waitresses doesn't have quite the same impact as I implemented training programs for the waitresses that increased sales by 20% within 1 month. We did this by providing them with basic sales skills and implementing an incentive program. There you go. Everything's down to a T. Everything's nice and clear. They can see, how did that improve it? 20%, basic. So there's all these different things. Whereas just saying that, I trained our waitresses doesn't give you much, how successful it was and everything. And then give specific examples of projects or tasks. In my last role as office manager, I created a new filing system that helped improve office efficiency. There we go. That's what you did, and this is what the good outcome of it was. Okay. And then ask informed and specific questions. Now, this will actually show that you have enough knowledge to critically consider what the interviewer is saying. What has been working well in this department, for example? What are the department's opportunities, for example? Okay. So soft skills in action, of course. Now, much like your experience and knowledge, interviewers want to see your soft skills in action. Very, very important. Soft skills, of course, are important to interviewers as they demonstrate your potential, how you're able to grow. They actually provide insight into what value you can add to the organization and how good, a cultural fit you might be. If you say you're a good communicator, prove that in the way you tell stories, ask questions, and listen to the speaker. Okay. If you actually, so all of those different things are very important. If you want to prove that you're adaptable, perhaps share a story. People love stories. Share a story about a time you overcame a challenge or had to adapt to change. Even asking about the possibility of the role changing, in the future might set you apart as someone who embraces change rather than shies away from it. And can you think of a few soft skills that you might want to showcase in your next interview? One of the big things as well is we talk about skills and knowledge and everything, and that's really important. But you think about it often, it's the strength. Now, strength is an interesting one. Strength we're really good at, but it's so second nature we don't even think about it. And you do need to speak to your colleagues, to your friends, and say, well, what am I good at? What do you turn to me for? What can I help you with? When do you turn to me to ask something or to ask for assistance? All of those different things are very important. And because we just think it's so simple, we often don't really think through those things. So it's important to speak to your friends. Okay. Practice skills to impress hirers. Okay, so we're going to go through some tips for actually how to write for social media. All right. A big thing is do your research. I don't know about you, when I've applied for jobs, often I have the spec on the left-hand side in a column, and then on the right-hand side, I have a spec for, I have a column for what I have achieved. And I try and match with the left with the right so that with each of those different things of the spec, I have something to talk about and something to communicate about what I've done. So it's crucial that you do your research on both the company and the role for which you're applying. If they've had any problems, what problems were they? How can you assist them out of those problems? And make sure you read the job description thoroughly. Like I was saying, if you have them on, to help you, so you know exactly what they're looking for. If there's something in job description you don't quite understand, do please ask. And then this actually shows engagement and curiosity and offers an opportunity to discuss responsibilities much more clearly. Remember, the interview is not a test. You don't have to memorize everything. They don't want to have something where it's repeated like this. No, interviewers are more interested in you showing preparedness. So feel free to write notes and refer to them when need be, Okay, don't use too much jargon. All right, we always say this, whether it's advertising, whether it's going for a particular job, keep it really, really simple. You're bound to, of course, to be nervous for an interview, but you probably want to try to sound as confident as possible. Now, many people might think that using loads of jargon might make them sound more prepared and qualified, but often the opposite is true. Jargon can make you sound clumsy rather than speaking smoothly and comfortably and explaining everything for them. Try to get your point across in the simplest way that is most comfortable for you. This will make you seem far more confident, and comfortable with the topic at hand. So don't try to disguise lack of knowledge with verbosity, please. Interviewers can see right through it. So which one of these sounds better to you? I coordinated communication pipelines to improve organizational systems and structures, or we changed our company chat app so that we could communicate more efficiently. I don't know about you, I prefer the second one. I can understand it's clearer. You're putting across what you managed to do. Okay, prepare answers to some questions, okay? Be sincere and honest, highlight your value and ask for clarification when you don't understand something. There are common questions used across most interviews. They're sometimes phrased differently, but are asking the same things. Some common ones are, what are your strengths? Now, really, this is when I say you need to speak to your friends, your colleagues, find out what are your strengths, what I'm really good at, which I hardly think that's not a job. That's hardly work at all. What are your weaknesses? Ask them this as well. What are your career goals and aspirations? And why do you want to work for us? Now, each industry or profession will have its own frequently asked questions. So we recommend you do your research on these. Now, when you're actually coming up with your answers, keep the following in mind. Be sincere and authentic. Never try to sound like someone else or copy answers off the internet. It is you who needs to communicate. Highlight your value. Make sure to illustrate how you can add value to the role or company in your answers. In other words, make them relevant to the job. You might be a fantastic guitar player or stand-up comedian, but those skills are not necessarily going to help you in your accounting job, unless you're going to surprise us. Ask if you don't understand. If you do get a question that you're unsure how to answer, there's nothing wrong with taking a moment to think about it, Also, don't be shy to ask for clarification or for the interviewer to rephrase it, okay? Remember the 3 Ps, all right? Polite, punctual, professional. The point is, look, even if the interview goes badly, never be rude or unpleasant to the interviewers. Remain polite at all times. Never ever be late for an interview. If it's online, check your tech and internet the day before and start to log on, at least 30 minutes before in case something goes wrong. In the event you are unable to make the meeting, always inform the interviewer as far as in advance as possible, and present professionally. Research the company's dress code. There we go, and try to match it. Even if it is a casual company, erring on the smart side is never a bad idea. And if you're actually online, make sure your room or background is tidy. A neutral background is always best. But don't forget, to always enjoy it, to get something out of it. All right, over to you. Now, how can you prepare for your next interview? All right, so think these things carefully through. You've got to work out, of course, your strategies. This is just to help you, to give you an idea, to get you started in preparing and understand what works best. Probably intuitively, you understood a lot of those things, but keep those things in mind for your interview. All right, so that brings us to the end of our session today. I hope that has been a useful dive into this particular side for presenting yourself and coming across clearly to the people who are hiring. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, if you are interested in more training from Google Digital Garage, there are a few ways you can continue learning. We are running many more Google Digital Garage webinars in different subjects. If you would like to check out the schedule of webinars, please see information on the description below. There are different topics available to watch. But also, if you would like to carry on learning online in your own time, there's Google Digital Garage website. There's Fundamentals of Digital Marketing, for example, a very good one. Okay, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Sarah. You've been absolutely fabulous. Thank you, everyone, for joining today, for your contributions, your questions, everything. We look forward to welcoming you again to another Google Digital Garage training session soon. Thank you.